About the most that people might remember about a place called Angola is a young man from Sacramento named Gary Acker. He was sentenced to prison in Angola in 1976. Gary Acker was a hot-to-trot kid then. He'd signed up as a mercenary to fight the communists who were taking the country over. But they captured Gary Acker fighting with some guerrillas known as the FNLA. For 6 years, he sat in an Angolan prison until last Thanksgiving when he was released. Now, back home, Gary Acker has put his ordeal behind him. Ahead, finally, is a good life. But in Angola, life has gone from bad to worse. The Marxist experiment, orchestrated by the Soviets and the Cubans, just hasn't worked. And the FNLA, it fights on, alone, without any support, without fanfare. It is a struggle that nobody knew was going on until now. Angola nos avantes, para liberdade marcha, nesta luta triunfante, a vitória conquista. The song says, Angola has lost the blood of some of her best sons. Angola must continue the fight until there is freedom and peace. Every man here who sings the song lives it. Angola. This is what commitment to a cause and to freedom is all about. These young guerrillas are the sons of fathers who fought against Portuguese colonizers in Angola in the early 1960s. Now they're fighting a different enemy, the Angolan Marxists, supported by Cuban troops and with Soviet money. But nobody helps them. Nobody from anywhere in the world helps them. The men of the FNLA, the National Front for the Liberation of Angola, fight their war alone. Their weapon supply comes from the enemy, whatever they can capture or steal. And like all used equipment, some of it works, some doesn't. As guerrillas, the FNLA are classics. They are landlocked, trapped inside their own country. Angola's neighbors, either sympathetic to or intimidated by her Soviet connection, have banned the FNLA. So these are the ultimate guerrillas. Even the Viet Cong could use safe territory in Cambodia or North Vietnam. In El Salvador, some of the guerrilla fighters of the left can hide in Honduras. And the Afghan freedom fighters move at will in and out of neighboring Pakistan. But these are the lonely guerrillas of this world. They have been that way, but still fighting, since 1976. The Portuguese colonizers had given up Angola the year before. At home, Portugal was in turmoil, beset with serious internal problems. So after 500 years of Portuguese rule, the Angolan resistance to it, led in part by the FNLA, had helped bring the country to the brink of independence. Somehow, Angola was always passed over in the history and geography books, but in Africa, it was a jewel. Its beauty had many faces: deserts, jungles, mountains, and a capital city, Luanda, which was one of Africa's best. Under all the beauty, there was great wealth, minerals from diamonds to mercury, oil and more oil, and land and a people who could produce an abundance of food. The two superpowers were clearly interested in the way independence was going to go in Angola. Washington started sending arms to the FNLA after the Soviets furnished another party, the MPLA, with large quantities of arms. A third faction, UNITA, was also fighting the MPLA, and the MPLA was losing. Now enter the Cubans, 25,000 of them, to prop up the MPLA. U.S. senators were talking about another Vietnam, ignoring that 2/3 of the people and 2/3 of the political movements in Angola were opposed to the MPLA. American aid to the FNLA and UNITA was cut off. The Cubans drove both groups into the hills. The FNLA's leader, Holden Roberto, had been Angola's interim president after the Portuguese left. Now, he was exiled from Africa to France, where he still lives in near poverty. Badly beaten and without their leader, the FNLA disappeared into the mountains and the jungles of northern Angola. With no outside support or organization, they became the lost guerrilla movement of our time. Lost perhaps in international politics, but here, on their own turf, the FNLA never stopped fighting, and that has made a difference. More tomorrow night. Our series of reports this week deals with the FNLA, freedom fighters in Angola who have been struggling to liberate their country from Soviet and Cuban control. They have been doing that now for 7 years without any international help, without anyone outside of Angola even knowing what they were doing. To understand the depth of the FNLA's commitment demands some more history and background. To understand, for one, that this part of Africa we Americans know so little about is literally coming apart at the seams. Along Angola's southern border, in Namibia, there is another war. Heavily equipped South African troops battle the insurgency of SWAPO guerrillas, the Marxist-supported Southwest Africa People's Organization. Since World War I, Namibia has been governed by South Africa. In the last 30 years, world opinion has grown against that. Pressure is mounted on South Africa to give up its territory. South Africa says it can't and won't allow another communist state to evolve on its borders. But it says it will agree to free elections if SWAPO ends the warfare. SWAPO says the same thing, and so the fighting goes on. Cuba is the rub in this struggle too. Her control of Angola and 30,000 troops there makes the West as well as South Africa nervous. The U.S. position now is that there can be no independence for Namibia unless the Cubans pull out and go home. The Soviets, through their Marxist regimes, have established important beachheads in 3 strategic corners of Africa: Angola, Mozambique, and Ethiopia. When the Portuguese gave up Angola in the mid-70s, the Cubans got their first chance at intervention, a prelude to what they're doing now in Central America. The Cubans put the minority political party in power, but what they had in muscle, the Cubans lacked in grace.
They went from the big liberators who were coming to save the revolution and the people. They immediately became very bourgeois.
Jose Rebelo is now a Sacramento businessman, but as a third-generation Angolan, he fought against the Cubans until they sentenced him to death. He stole a plane, grabbed his family, and flew out of Angola to freedom. He remembers well the heavy hand of the Cubans.
Their concept is everything belongs to the state, therefore it was theirs. You could at one time see every corner at the street a smashed Porsche or BMW, driven by a guy who never had a chance to drive a fancy car, and they started to pack everything they could and send back to Cuba. They show so little respect that if you go to the streets of Havana today, you can see some of those vehicles with the original imprinting of public transportation from Angola, So they, from the big liberator fighters, they are nothing but neo-colonializers.
This man has also formed some conclusions about the Cuban style of liberation. He is a member of a tribe that experienced it at its worst. They are the Kunyama, Angola's cattle farmers, making a living by selling their stock. The Cubans arrived and told the Kunyama, "We're here to help you, to make Angola a better place." The Kunyama thought that was just fine. But then the Cubans added that now everything belonged to the state. That meant that the tribe would contribute its cattle and not be paid. The Kunyama resisted that, and the Cubans responded.
Around 9 o'clock, the Air Force came with their jets. They made so much noise. They started dropping bombs that were burning everything. They were burning our villages. Most of our villages burned between 9 o'clock and 3 in the afternoon. Our people were running away because we didn't have enough weapons to fight them. As we ran away, we could see them taking our cattle. The people that were not fast enough to run away, they would come in, they would kill them in the villages and burn them. They burned men, women, and children.
The people on the street, the guy that used to be able to circulate free and now has a curfew, the guy was able to get a job and be treated respectfully. Now he's treated like a little slave, you know. That individual cannot accept the Cuban presence, you know. If today he was put up to vote, the Cubans would be in a boat the next day.
The FNLA controls 6 of Angola's 14 provinces. They're all here in the north, and they comprise the country's breadbasket. As a consequence, more than 1 million people in the cities are going without food. The Marxist government can't support them, and the Cubans and the Soviets don't seem willing to pay the bill either. Last year, 5,000 people starved to death in the capital of Luanda. But here, in the area controlled by the resistance, 500,000 people still eat. The guerrillas make sure of that. Food production isn't the only thing in trouble in Angola. The whole economy is. The paradox is that it's being kept afloat by the U.S. and other Western countries. Our government doesn't recognize Angola, but American business definitely does. The big attraction is oil. Angola is Gulf Oil's 3rd largest producer of foreign crude. In 1980, Gulf paid the Marxist government nearly $1 million a day in taxes and royalties. Overall, U.S. trade in that year was worth almost twice as much. The resistance groups despair over that. The guerrillas simply can't understand how American companies, opposite politically to the Angolan government, can help keep it in power with their investments. But in time, Angola may not turn out to have been such a good buy. The people are unhappy and they're restless.
They were promised an election, one man, one vote. They saw an upstep of weaponry and a war, a civil war, bloody civil war taking place. They are tired of war. You know, the basic needs, food and medicine and the basic needs had not been met. And therefore, the people are just exhausted. You know, they come into a break point. You know, I don't think it can last longer.
Tomorrow night here, our travels with the FNLA begin under some closely held secrecy. And we find out more about these men, the ultimate guerrilla fighters of our time. Tomorrow night, when the lonely guerrillas of Angola continues. These last 3 nights of our report cover the time we spent inside Angola with the freedom fighters of the FNLA. They are a small band of guerrillas trying to liberate their country from its Marxist government and its Cuban partners. In this bunch, there are 18,000 men who are trained to fight, but the FNLA is made much smaller by its lack of weapons and supplies. Only 7,000 of its men are armed. But now, more of the story. It tells itself. Our travels with the FNLA begin outside of Angola, here in a safe house somewhere in Africa. 3 Angolan refugees operate a meager support system under cover for the guerrillas. The 3 underground leaders stress secrecy with me. It is essential to protect them and our mobility. Everybody here operates under code names. We will too. They decide to call me Santos. Cameraman Gilbert Rios will be known as Lucio. Lucio is his mother's maiden name. That makes us both feel safer. It's a good omen, and we need one. For now, we get our marching orders.
You will have to drive a very long distance. And then after that, we will have a rendezvous with our troops from the rendezvous, you are going to walk many, many miles, because this is the only way to get in our liberated area.
We made our rendezvous at midnight. It was pitch black. We started hiking over steep highlands on rocky trails, straight up and straight down. We crashed our way through jungles, wading across streams and rivers and through man-sized grass and brush, all of it sopping wet. But now we're here, now at daybreak. I figure we made about 2 miles an hour, but that was in deference to us. The guerrillas were taking it easy. Normally they do 4 miles an hour. Feet, don't fail me now. We are the first television news team the FNLA has seen for more than 7 years. I picked the word journalista out of the song. They're singing it to us. It's their way of saying welcome. The camp is in a lush gully at the base of 4 mountains. It is safely enough hidden to have taken on a look of permanence. A Boy Scout camp couldn't be better furnished. There are do-it-yourself cots, do-it-yourself tables, and do-it-yourself chairs. And if you haven't done it right the first time, everything is at your fingertips to do it again. Simply climb a tree and find a better vine. The camp is better outfitted than the men. Only 2 soldiers have uniforms, both liberated from the enemy they killed. The resistance spends as much time sewing and patching as it does cleaning its weapons. These are courageous and effective guerrillas, but they're also raggedy. The FNLA's poverty is emphasized by this endless project. They've captured a large haul of Soviet-supplied ammunition, but it doesn't fit in many of the FNLA's weapons. The shells are too long. So the men take them apart, save the powder and the tip, and cut the cartridge down to size with a machete. They check it in a weapon to make sure it will now fit in the chamber. Once it passes quality control, someone else on the assembly line smooths the edges off on a rock, refills the round with powder, and reinserts the bullet. It takes 3 or 4 men working together a day to convert 50 rounds. Another resistance group called UNITA has taken control of a huge hunk of Angola's south. Their power and effectiveness has become something the Marxist government and the Cubans have had to reckon with. Like the FNLA, much of UNITA's weaponry is what is captured from the enemy. In the past, other nations, China, France, and South Africa, helped UNITA get established. By comparison, the FNLA is a wretched second cousin. Its men are landlocked inside Angola. Outside, there is no political organization to make international contacts and get help, but still supported by no more than its own determination. The FNLA has cut off food supplies from the north to Angola's Marxist-controlled cities. It's not easy.
For 7 years now, we have never had the things we need to fight with. It's difficult for me as a commander to explain that to everybody, and it's difficult for me to handle that emotionally myself.
But the men of the FNLA have made a commitment to get rid of the Cubans and make their country free, even in spite of their handicaps.
I haven't seen my family for 7 years. I can't get to them because the communists are there. I don't know whether they're alive or dead. But in the end, it's more important that I fight than see my family.
Há lá os racistas cubanos dentro do território de Angola.
Tomorrow night, a profile of one of the world's oldest guerrilla warriors, still fighting for freedom for himself and the FNLA after 22 years. His story and more about them here tomorrow night when the Lonely Guerillas of Angola continues. Of the 7,000 men who fight for the FNLA in Angola, many are pushing senior citizenship. Freedom has been Angola's most elusive quality throughout history. And so the men who want it have devoted their lives to getting it. In every army, there are the old dogs of war who know all the tricks. The commander they call Carafea is one of them. Ugly face, that means. A code name that he's proud of. He's been fighting for freedom for Angola for 22 years, first against the Portuguese and now against the Marxist government and the Cubans. His physique and his strength betray his age, 48. 2 decades of fighting here have made Carafea one of the world's oldest guerrillas, the essential freedom fighter. He has walked 20,000 miles since 1961 in defense of his beliefs, and his passion for them now is just as strong as it was then.
The communists are worse than 500 years of colonial rule by the Portuguese because they've done nothing but hurt the Angolan people. That's why all Angolans, even women and children, will fight the communists. We are not against our brothers and sisters. We're against the communist regime. We have all suffered, like we've never suffered during the years of the Portuguese.
It's beautiful, this lush and green West African countryside, but only from a distance. There's a war going on here on steep highlands that bottom out in wet, dense jungles. But for the resistance combating the Soviet and Cuban-backed Angolan Marxists here, it's all in a day's work, and they can handle every bit of it just like jackrabbits. We're on a patrol, and as I drag my body over the hills and mountains one after the other, I wonder why we always do it the hard way, straight up, straight down. Because, I'm told, the enemy goes the easy way, around the bottom of the mountains. The strategy here is to avoid contact, unless we have the advantage. Commander Carafea spots 2 men a couple of miles away, probably villagers out hunting. Anyway, they're going the right direction, away from us. We haven't been seen. Later, in safe territory, we get a break. It is the high point of the trip for bodies that have been unwashed for 4 days. We forget about the crocodiles in the adjacent river 50 yards away. This is a slice of heaven. Back in camp, Commander Uglyface pays a soldier the ultimate compliment. He gives him a new weapon, much better than his old one. The soldier is pleased. It looks like rain is coming tonight. We get some protection up for the camera gear and us. Tomorrow is a key day. A scouting party will arrive to tell us if we can march in farther to the FNLA's main camp. As dusk comes, Commander Wampuena leads some of the men in prayer. Normally, between the soldiers, Portuguese is the common language, but the prayers are in Bakongo, one of Angola's tribal tongues. In this setting, the commander looks and sounds more like a minister than a fighting man. With good reason. He was a minister until 1963, when he joined the FNLA to fight. Up on a mountaintop nearby, an FNLA lookout has just taken his position. The night that's coming will be long and black, and for him, sleepless. Happily for all of us, it'll be a safe and peaceful night. The lookout will not have to use the whistle. In the camp below, we all sleep well. More tomorrow. In terms of our own self-interest, Angola's importance to Americans is very real on many counts. For one, if a ceasefire is reached in neighboring Namibia, U.S. troops will be sent there as part of an international peacekeeping force. Their assignment would be along Namibia's border with Angola. More than likely, the struggle in Angola would still be going on. The peacekeepers, U.S. Marines and others, will have a difficult and explosive task to master. Tomorrow night here, our series Inside Angola concludes.
Still fill up.
Our reports from inside Angola conclude tonight. We have been following the course of the FNLA, an anti-communist pro-West guerrilla force that the world presumed had disbanded and disappeared after the Cubans intervened in Angola. That was after the Cubans put the minority party into power by force. The Marxist government would have us believe that the FNLA is no more, but this reporter and a couple of others have found out recently that the FNLA is alive and fighting well, with little more than their own courage and determination. In the FNLA's guerrilla kingdom, breakfast is a pretty simple matter. The main dish is manioca, a tree root, slightly roasted, dipped in brown sugar, flavored with peanuts, and chased down with coffee you can slice. The sandal maker is at work this morning. Rubber tires supply all the material. Add a machete, and knowing how to do it, and a man can put a tread on his feet that'll give him 500 miles. I wonder how the chicken has survived so long. I'm told she's escaped dinner because the men are looking for a rooster for her, so they can add eggs to their diet. On the edge of the camp, two soldiers sit together, sharing a quiet time and the Bible. Men of war, but for the moment, children of God. A runner has brought some medicines in from outside. It is meager replenishment for the FNLA's already lame supply of first aid equipment. There's some Festal for liver disorders, penicillin powder, hypodermic syringes, forget the sanitation factor, mercurochrome, vitamins B and C, and the guerrillas' first line of medical defense, aspirin. With no international support for their struggle, the FNLA lives from hand to mouth. Medical supplies have to be bought and paid for, and distributed among 7,000 or 8,000 soldiers and 10,000 more supporters inside Angola. Financial help for the FNLA is limited. Many refugees contribute to the cause with the hope of seeing their country free again someday, but that doesn't add up to much money. The guerrillas pick up raw diamonds sometimes in riverbeds. They smuggle them out to other African countries, where international dealers then pay bargain basement prices for them, about $1,000 a carat.
Agora, a conjunção e na mata tem tido
Commander Carafea is saying we have to be more careful the way we distribute the medicines. Some areas need certain things and others don't. Too many supplies are getting broken, he scolds. The men have to be more careful the way they pack and carry them. The medicines are all divvied up. What's here will be all the medical security 24 fighting men will have for the next month. Our trip is now getting down to the punchline. A party of scouts arrives back in camp. For 2 days, they've been searching out the territory. Everybody's on edge because the week before, the FNLA has knocked off a big enemy convoy nearby. To complete our trip, we want to walk in 2 more days to the FNLA's headquarters camp. I don't speak the language, but I can tell from the tone of the powwow, it's no deal. The scouts tell us 3,000 enemy troops have been sent into the area to find and wipe out the guerrillas. The troops are between us and the camp. Commander Wampuena asks, do you think we can avoid them? The scout answers, no way. Wampuena decides that with us in tow, he's not going to take any chances. So, within a few hours, we'll be on the road again, headed out of Angola. After depositing us at a rendezvous point, Wampuena and a small band of guerrillas will sneak through the enemy patrols and rejoin the main body of the force at the headquarters camp. A lot more easily done without 2 Americans and their 12 cases of television equipment. We leave Africa shortly after, and as we take off, I keep wondering what it is that really keeps the FNLA going. Some of them have fought for 22 years, the rest for 7. Isolated and unknown, they've given up everything and risked even more to fight. But they are free men. They know the Marxists can't tolerate that. The Angolan resistance wants something better. Back at the camp, I had thought about what one of the men had said, and now it seemed to say it all. For years in Angola, he told me, all we have known is death. Someday, he said, someday we want to learn about life.
Oh, irmão, presidente virá, garante a paz e justiça em Angola, garante a paz e justiça em Angola, querida Angola, irmão presidente, o presidente Holden Roberto. Oh, irmão, presidente virá, oh, irmão, presidente virá, garante a paz e justiça em Angola, garante a paz e justiça em Angola, querida Angola, irmão presidente, o presidente Holden Roberto.
Pulsar make